Lastly, Alan Brown.
Thanks, Chair. Just continuing that international outlook and just to discuss Horizon. But first of all, just looking at the impact post-Brexit leaving Horizon did before the recent agreement was reached. Now, University of Scotland had said, amongst other things, that the delay to associating to Horizon Europe has a significant negative impact in terms of funding, applications and attraction, retention of research talent. So Professor Boswell, I just wonder if you could elaborate on potential missed funding opportunities where it's actually meant in terms of attracting talent and possibly losing talent over that period.
Yes, I mean, it had a particularly significant negative impact on what we call Pillar 2, which is the collaborative part of the programme. Obviously, the UK couldn't lead on collaborative grants, and any money it did receive as a partner was underwritten by UK government, so they weren't directly receiving EU funding. And I think there was a lot of misperception and also anxiety amongst European partners about having a UK partner on board, and also some confusion amongst researchers about what they could and couldn't apply for and whether a UK partner would be seen as beneficial. Now, laid over that again now is the impact of COVID and restrictions on travel between 2020 and 2022. So I think the concern is that we've actually arguably seen a lost generation of early and mid-career researchers who had confusing and limited access to Horizon Europe collaborative funding, and who also were restricted in their ability to travel and to foster those sorts of European partnerships. So that creates a real risk and a loss, actually, to the richness of our international research, which we are hastily scrambling to rectify. So University Scotland is actually in the process of consulting with universities across Scotland to explore what mechanisms they're putting in place to try to revitalise and reactivate those sorts of collaborations and think about how Universities Scotland can support that. I would say that by contrast, the activity on what we call the mono-beneficiary schemes, so the sort of the individual fellowship type schemes, actually held up surprisingly well. So I think we haven't seen such a hit there, although there were concerns about people moving away from the UK because they couldn't access that funding. But I think it's really the Pillar 2 that's the challenge.
Okay, but you said lost generation there, which is quite a damning comment, really. So what needs to be done? What support's needed to actually, reinvigorate and get that support and get that, enhance the talent, increase the talent pool against that backdrop of what was spoken about earlier about visa barriers, cost barriers, ending the freedom of movement. So what support's needed to get the best out associate membership of Horizon?
So I think we know what the levers are, and it's about encouraging and enabling our researchers to access, often they're quite complex, these funding schemes, so they need expert advice in accessing and developing bids and finding partners and travelling and organising events and meetings and so on. Now that all requires some money. And so that's where, obviously DCID at the moment is thinking about whether there is any underspend or unallocated money which wasn't spent on Horizon Europe, which could be allocated across the university sector. If we do see that kind of grant being given out, we would obviously see Barnett consequentials, and that's where I would say we'd be absolutely delighted and really hopeful that we would see that then trickle through to universities in Scotland so that we can help revitalise those really crucial collaborations.
Okay, I hear your plea about direct funding, but in part of the University of Scotland submission, you'd highlighted that our organisation highlighted that in the last multi-year Horizon programme, Scotland brought in close to 900 million euros, boosting the innovation economy. So can we put a figure on how much money is potentially been lost out during that period where we're excluded from Horizon?
I'm not aware that we have an analysis specifically on that, but again, I'll check and I'll ask to see if we can provide some kind of estimate.
Okay. Can I just go to Dr. High, because Alliances for Research Challenges had also stated that Scotland had been disproportionately impacted to the delays in the Horizon Europe negotiations and Brexit. So can you maybe elaborate on your experience in that regard?
Yeah. From the Alliance's perspective, Horizon Europe is such an important funding scheme because it enables the building of research teams. The grants have such a size that it's not just about an individual researcher doing her research project, it's about really building that capacity for excellence in a particular area. And so when that access was suddenly put into jeopardy, it really affected the research landscape in Scotland, because we are already, I would say, in a UK perspective, we are competing very much with the Golden Triangle. And if we are already competing, and then we then have this added insecurity of this bigger funding, we lose out.
Is that, you able to quantify on what potential income streams have been missed out on, and how long it can take to recover to get even back to where we were?
I don't know how much we have lost. I guess that kind of calculation is always difficult to make. With the alliances, we have heard it already from some of our business partners in the alliances, because they lost access where they didn't have that guarantee from the UKRI on the Pillar 3. But yeah.
Okay. Is it the case where potentially missed out already in some projects, but is it the case then that, say, European institutions that have been successful continue to participate, so they've therefore got projects that they can build on and continue to reapply for future funding streams, so therefore there's a continual catch-up that you're disadvantaged in?
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's me, Chair.
Well, thank you ever so much for that.